Today we're going to be presenting the building here at Melbourne Park. So Melbourne Park obviously is a major international sporting precinct, but also concerts, so you might have been in tennis, been to a concert. Today we're going to talk about this project, which is the Melbourne Park Function Media and Broadcast Centre. And this is a project that sits, as you can see from this site, right in the middle of the site. It is epicentral. And really the key kind of architectural idea, working in conjunction with the State Government Architect and the Design Quality team, thank you Paul, was to actually go, this isn't a sporting building, it's actually a civic public building. It has a lot of civic public functions to it. So it's surrounded by peacocks, arenas, you know, the big show-offs, the Rod Laver Arena, we did a big show-off arena at Quad Arena, but this was intended to be a building that was both civic, but also working with Matt from Aspect, and unfortunately it's got to go to another presentation, how it worked with the landscape. And so here you can see the idea of the centrepiece, which is the Function Media Centre, really engaging with the public space. So these are the major international broadcasting rooms up here. This is what you see. So you can actually see from the public space the broadcast happening, and from the broadcast you can see the public. And here we have the public space, and one of the key things here is they don't know they're actually walking on top of 25,000 square metres of logistics. So underneath them here are trucks, kitchens, central depots, everything. So the public space and the public architecture here is totally free and open, because over 10 years we've managed to separate the logistics from the public.
So as part of that strategy, it allowed for a very significant, I guess, flexible space for events. So this image on the right is in function centre mode, and that allows for a loose fit for companies to come in and operate restaurants during all the events. Secondly, the logistics that Hamish talked about, which is under the public realm, amazing operational overlay through there. And finally, the media, as you spoke about. The rooms can be retrofitted and flexed to allow for a really complex set of media requirements.
So yes, it sits in the middle of the site, and so there's two aspects to how we thought about its relationship to context. The precinct itself is clearly part of the network of public and parklands. We've got over here the My Music Bowl, as owned the gardens, through Melbourne Park to Yarra Park. So it's got a great physical context, which meant we thought about the building as having an indoor-outdoor experience. Quite a lot of these sort of buildings on sports precincts are black boxes that you can't see or feel where you are, but we thought this was really important. Our great weather, you wanted to be able to get in and out of the building as seamlessly and flexibly as possible. So that's the physical experience of how it works. But the other is broadcasting. They make a lot of, there's 840,000 people come to the event, but the number of people who access the event digitally is enormous, billions. We're talking, it's huge. So the view and what you see in the sort of virtual urbanism, virtual public space is also incredibly important.
And this was a major change to a lot of broadcasting attitudes, in that this was located in a position that generally the broadcasters wouldn't approve. But through a series of workshops, we convinced them that Melbourne, the view of Melbourne, was going to be a significant driver to showcase Melbourne as a city.
And in fact, we showed them these slides. We said, did you know that from this particular broadcast centre, if you look that way, you'll see the world-famous MCG up the window. And if you look that way, you'll see the new Kia Arena, which is one of our projects. You can see that out the window. If you look across the road, you actually get the beautiful old 1956 Olympic pool, beautiful building in view. If you look that way, you get to see the Premier Court for the tennis, Rod Laver Arena. Yeah, and if you look that way, you get to see the whole of the city. And suddenly the broadcasters went, oh, bing! This is a building that is accessible from a public architecture point of view to a global audience.
So these interior shots, I guess this is an example on the left of that view that is pretty clear about the strategies that we used for the circulation routes within the interior of the building. And the image on the right is set up as a boardroom, but is the same space as the media occupy, with all their high-tech equipment, including rolling dollies and blackout facilities. The climate, obviously, Melbourne during a lot of the events is a perfect city for showcasing the weather, good and bad. So this is a covered external balcony that again leads off the function centre and is quite unusual for a function centre to offer that level of amenity. It is a unique offer that they have, and they find that it's one of the first questions that a lot of organisations ask. Can we get outside, still be secure, and also, you know, have an event space like this that's fully flexible, with dividing walls and the tech required to run all the events, day and night. Clear representation of that flex. High performance, obviously, for all the media requirements, interviews, etc. This operates again with a overlay of media requirements, but also is hireable for the general public to come in and use it as a function space.
And when we say high performance, we mean camera angles, camera views, lighting requirements for high def TV. There's a whole lot of. We think this is a very beautiful, elegant space, but sitting behind it is a whole lot of high-tech stuff that needs to make it work for international broadcasting. Texture. The building really negotiates the landscape really effectively and ties into the idea of the universal access that we've achieved across the site. So it's really a textural response to the landscape, both from the sort of soil through to the sort of idea of the views up to the sky through the skylights on the right and on the left. And colour, we're interested in, we do joke, we are wearing blue today, but blue is clearly the thematic colour down there because Australian Open, that is the official copyrighted Australian blue for the Australian Open. And this happens to be at the high point of the site, so we really use the idea of the colour of the landscape. And stories about the tennis. The image on the left is the heat map of the tennis match between Roger Federer and Nadal. And it's a great story for the operators to sort of explain and tell, and captures the imagination. And that's not a story, that is actually true. That is the heat map for the balls between the famous Nadal Federer final. That is been plotted and accurately plotted and put in the lighting. And obviously the tennis net for the slightly older folk who still remember tennis nets when they were a bit more shabby like that.
1 minute. Saggy.
So look, to finish, you know, we often find people kind of go, why are you, not why, but this is a public category, this is public architecture, this is a sports precinct. I guess we come to face that prejudice that just because it's a sports precinct doesn't mean it's not public architecture. And we did have a very strong mandate from our client team and from the State Government Architect and Design Quality team to actually treat this as a public building, not a sports building. Hence it's made of polished precast, it's made of, you know, all the things that you don't associate with a sports building. And you get this amazing shift from it being in this kind of late sun brooding quality, which we quite like, but also then it flips into this mode where it becomes, you know, really active, and when the food and beverage is on offer and the landscape's in play, it becomes really, you know, like a marketplace. It becomes, so it has that capacity to change. And a backdrop to all this overlay, which is really significant to the operators. Thank you. Oh, Tom.
Oh, thank you guys. Yeah, just had a quick question. I was really interested in this sort of the global outreach of these view lines to the broader surrounding precinct and to the city. Did that sort of inform any innovative thinking in the architectural expression or sort of, I guess, overall
it does.
Design of the building and in terms of expressing those view lines and capturing those view lines? In terms of height and...
Yes. Yeah, all the rooms, the heights, if you come and look in broadcasting are high because of all the equipment, but you'll see all the window baffles, a combination of the ASD requirements because of the waste spacing sun, but also the broadcasters have very, very specific view angles which we have to plot, again, three-dimensionally. So the facade is a kind of an outcome of a whole lot of geometries that are applied from an ASD point of view, from a broadcasting point of view.
Yeah, I was more interested in the shaping and the
and everyone goes, oh, is the shaping just, you know, architecture? And you go, no, it's actually 90% of it is generated by technical requirements, but we actually quite like that interplay. And then we plotted the windows based upon all these view corridors. Some of the clients go, why have we got a window here? We go, well, because, you know, so there's a bit of conflict there, but it's a building that's made out of those bits rather than actually being applied.
Can I just give a follow-up on that answer, which is there different shading depths on different orientations? Yes. Okay, thank you. Precast?
Precast?
Like, why precast and what's your solution for embodied carbon?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. That's one that's clearly emerging as a conversation.
Okay, no problem, so I'll give it over to Scott.
Yeah, you talk about the past, the sort of the current. What's this building setting up for future? Is there sort of anything that it needs to sort of consider or will generate going into the future in terms of that sort of precinct that continual precinct upgrade?
Yes is the answer to that. They were looking for a building that could handle they've got the Australian Open up until 2036, but they've certainly got a concert register also going forward. So they were looking for a building that was not, how do I answer this? All the other buildings are purpose-built for sports and concerts. They wanted a building that could basically do anything. So how could they have something in the centre of their site that could hold the Brownlow Medal dinner one night, corporate function the next, and then bring in international broadcasters 2 days later. So it's really a very flex building.